Scenic Hotel Group, a place to stay no matter your staycation. From the Legacy Collection for those special occasions to Heartland Hotels with room for the whole whānau. Find your place to stay at scenichotelgroup.co.nz.
Weekend Sport.
Gongs aplenty over the new year, and we're joined now by a man who's picked up MNZM, a companion of the New Zealand Order of Merit. Eric Murray is his name, one half of that terrible twosome that basically terrorised the rowing world for, it seems like decades, Eric. Was it that long, mate? And welcome to the show.
G'day, D'Arcy. It was 8 years of solid, unbeatable history, and crikey, I look back on it sometimes now and I'm just, people ask you the question, they're like, how'd you like not lose just like one race, like a preliminary or a semi-final or something, and I'm like, because we didn't want to, but I guess that was the thing, is that, it's quite surreal to sort of, I guess, look back on the career, and geez, it seems like such a long time ago now, but to reflect on what we actually were able to achieve, and it's talked about to this day, and there's nobody within Kui of having a continuous run like we did, 71 races and no loss over 8 years. Crikey. I don't know. I don't think we'll ever see that beaten in my lifetime.
Do you talk with your old mate Bond much about things like this? Obviously, you've both been anointed. You both got your gongs. Have you heard a wee chinwag about that? Do you still catch up, or?
We do. Yeah, we do. Absolutely. And I think that's one thing, is that Hamish and I, very good friends. Obviously we spent such a long time in close proximity. Generally with Hamish's sweat coming down on me while I was in the bow seat. But yeah, we obviously struck up a partnership, which I guess you talk about these magical partnerships that just happen. That was us. It happened. You had two people who believed that they were the best, and the next person. So I always thought I was the best, and Hamish was the second best, and he was vice versa. And then you put us in a combination, and we trust one another. We find out what we're capable of achieving. We train really hard. Try and find the absolute every ounce of speed that we could find in our boat. And I guess that's what the record has set, the fact that we were so driven to be the best and just desired to push ourselves to that absolute limit, and unstoppable.
I did a podcast with Hamish a year or so ago and talked about the history and how you guys got together and how you keep driving each other. You're very different characters, and that must have worked an absolute treat to have that yin-yang in the boat.
Oh, absolutely. I was more of the optimistic, like, right, don't worry about it, pal. And of course, Hamish was that pessimistic, like, no, we've got to get it right. Something's going to go wrong and everything else. And I think we worked out over time to really balance and bounce off that with one another, because we were completely different people, and where there was a 4-year age gap, and at the time when we first got on the pair, I was married and Hamish was footloose, fancy-free, so just in different stages of our lives. But we were able to find out that the differences made us even better. The fact that Hamish was, and to this day, I don't think there's anybody on this planet that has an aerobic capacity like that guy. And it's proven with his cycling escapades, his rowing escapades. It's crazy. And I just complemented that with the strength and a little bit of tacticalness and everything else that we needed in the boat. And next thing, you've got the Kiwi pair, and it's no one can come within Kiwi of us. A couple of times they got pretty close, but we won't talk about those ones.
No, let's just move that to one side. What about the support crew and the structures around with Rowing NZ, with your coaches and the like as well? Because as good as you both are, without that in place, I'd suggest you probably wouldn't have gone on that crazy run. Or am I far from the truth?
No, absolutely. You're 100% right there. And I think rowing saw such a prosperous couple of decades. If we look right back from Rob Waddell, who, pre-Rob Waddell started kicking it off, late 90s, Eva Swindells, Mahe, ourselves. We look at the Kerry and Grace are in there now. There's a whole group of people that have come through a program that has been built on the success of the previous generation or the previous group. so that when we came into the program, we could see what the Everson Dales were doing, and we're like, holy moly, those guys are just training the lights out. But then we look at it and go, well, it's not achievable. Like, well, why can't we do that? And then when you decide, and this is the whole debate about high performance, when you decide that you want to really have a go at it and you're going to leave no stone unturned, it's not going to be pretty, it's not going to be easy, but if you do it and you focus enough and you get the right elements together and the right recipe, you can become an absolute showstopper, unbeatable, and come away with Olympic medals or World Championship medals. And that was basically what we decided to do. And yeah, I guess that's the whole Rowing New Zealand thing is what's lost is the fact that Hamish and I, we have this amazing record, but it's everybody in the program. It's the coaches, the support staff, the logistics, the managers, the physios, everybody. That's really what makes a program. And we've just had a really, really great organisation that's been able to do that. And I think, we've got a bit of a building phase going on with rowing at the moment because we've seen a lot of people retire after, obviously, Tokyo. But it's just like any sport. If you can build on the legacies that were there in the past, adjust it, make it better, then hopefully we'll see more results in the future.
We're joined by Eric Murray. He's picked up a companion of the New Zealand Order of Merit, looking back at what was an absolutely amazing career. Do you think that can be replicated again, though, when you look at, I suppose, all of the organisations that have really looked deep within themselves about their ability to not necessarily win, but the mental health behind the athletes? And there's a number of different sports where this has been raised. Is it a stressful testing time? Is it something that can be carried on, do you think, done? Is it still within this, I suppose, the way we work in this day and age, Eric?
I think we will find an appropriate balance. I don't know where that is or how that looks like, and I've been asked to comment a lot about mental health and bits and pieces. I'm like, I'll tell you what it was like to have an abusive coach. I've been through that sort of stuff. I've done that, but in my own personal opinion, I didn't struggle as much as other people do who put their, I talked about it just before, finding that right recipe. There's people that commit 100% to a high-performance program and they leave no stone unturned. Their opportunity cost, there's no family time, there's nothing. And then all of a sudden they don't achieve, they don't win any medals or whatever. It's very hard on your mental health because you look back on it and go, shit, I gave 8 years up for this. I did 2 Olympic cycles, I came away with nothing. You're sort of sitting there and, of course, it will play on your mind because you're like, I could have gone, finished my degree, got a job, had a house, wife and kids, I don't know. And I guess that's one of the things is because you put so much heart and soul into it that it does really weigh on you. And I guess it's for a lot of people it is finding that balance. And I think we have to find that balance because we've seen, a lot of horrific things around coaches and pushing people and abuse and everything else that's gone on. I don't know. I think we'll find a make-up at some stage, but at the end of the day, I think this conversation, I don't know if it's one-sided or, we've still got to look at it and say, but, what I know the whole thing, what's more important, mental health or medals, but at the same time, it's like, we can't just have airy-fairy going out there to just have a good time and a bit of fun. If you want to be serious about it, I think that's, mate, we could talk about it all the day.
Well, I would like to, but we've only got a 3-hour show, Eric, so we'll knock it shortly. You're still involved with rowing. You're still based in Cambridge. You're basically redoing an old house right in the middle of Cambridge, so you're still right there. Is it still important to you? Do you still feel a great place in New Zealand rowing, that you still have a lot to offer?
I don't do a lot. I do a bit of mentoring and stuff with like specifically with rowing itself. I work business development for a company. We import fitness gear and rowing machines and other bits and pieces, and I actually run the New Zealand Indoor Rowing Association. I'm on a World Rowing Commission to develop the sport of indoor rowing, so racing on rowing machines around the world and different functions in that sense. So I'm still involved in the sport of rowing, so to speak. I coach people on indoor rowing and I work with a tech company. We do programs and bits and pieces. So there's a lot that's going on, and I know that the sport is growing, but we also have to figure out how we keep people engaged, because I know rowing as a sport is very difficult. It's time consuming. You can look at it like the likes of rugby, where you've got a declining participation level. Rowing's not too bad, but at the same time, it does, we've always seen it, and it's still quite prevalent that the drop-off between people doing it at school levels and then obviously once they finish school is quite significant. And so, yeah, I've always been a person, and I guess probably because I felt like I was in a privileged position, A, for taking taxpayers' money and sitting my ass for like 16 years, but the ability to give back, and I think it's a shame if you come out of being successful and doing something really special and then not giving back. And so I've sort of made it part of my, I guess, mission in my life to help people out, because I got help and I was very successful at doing it. And if I can give someone some tips or help them be a little bit better sooner or not make the same mistakes that I did, by all means, that's sort of what I feel like both Hamish and I have been able to do. So, it's the love of a sport, and it'll always be there. We're always going to be a part of history. So why not?
And in closing, as far as a one point in history, is there anything, any regatta or any particular moment do you feel encapsulates your rowing career with you and Hamish?
Man, it's so hard to put it to one point. I will say that out of everything that we ever did, I am far prouder of the time and effort that we spent behind closed doors than what people saw on TV. The turmoil, the blood, sweat and tears, the failures. People got no idea how many times we actually failed. We see our record of 71-0, 8 years unbeaten, but they didn't see the number of times on Karapiro where we tried to go out too hard in a race and we blew up, and we're like, righto, won't do that again. And I think that is the one thing that I'm far prouder of, the preparation to get us to a level where I could get onto the start line. And obviously it's quite poignant because Hamish and I are decade champions with the Hellberg Award. When you always hear Murray Hellberg, and he always talked about when he was in the call room and he could just look across and nobody would hold his eye. And he's like, I've just got to beat 11 scared men. And I just felt the same. When we were on a start line, I could look across and catch someone's eye. They can't hold my gaze. And I'm like, you know what? I'm confident because I know my capabilities. And we could go out, and because nobody had that confidence to feel like they could beat us because they hadn't done that before. And I think that comes from that preparation. We always see it with the teams that have put in the effort, that can turn up and say, you know what, I think we can do it today. We've got to make sure we do it properly, but we're going to do it. And that's really what I'm proud of, is the time that we spent getting to a level where I could turn up and go, you know what, I think we can win this if we do it properly. And the record speaks for itself.
Hey, mate, thanks so much for joining us. Congratulations on the gong. Yet another one, and an outstanding career. I can hear in the background you working on your home. Good luck renovating that thing in the middle of Cambridge, mate. Nice to know you're not taking the character out of Cambridge. You're just lifting it a bit, mate. Well done.
Yeah, thanks, D'Arcy.